Good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen, Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, for what is going to be another jam-packed daily cryptocurrency market update. If you are new around here and finding yourself on my channel for the first time today, don't forget to check out that subscribe button, because we drop an update just like this one around 1 p.m. UK time every single day to help you guys stay up to date with the latest and greatest things happening within the crypto space, but also the broader markets. That's exactly what we're going to be doing in this video. We are going to be predominantly focusing on the cryptocurrency market. We're going to be talking about regulations to start the video off and what is currently taking place with or between the CFTC and the SEC that are kind of at loggerheads at the moment in regards to the classification of Ethereum. We are then going to be going over to, we've got a clip for you from the chair of the CFTC, who is essentially questioning what the SEC might be about to do in regards to potentially classifying Ethereum as a security, which might have been signaled to them through Promethium. Now, Promethium is this really weird anomaly in the crypto space because they are, as of right now, the only regulatory compliant broker-dealer under the SEC that offer crypto securities, which is interesting. You know, they came about when Coinbase and all the rest kind of came out and said, look, you're asking us to be compliant. We've sought compliance. We've sought guidance in regards to how to be compliant, and you've not offered it. And the SEC used Promethium, which came out of nowhere, as this kind of, oh, well, check out these guys. They are regulated and they've done everything in the right manner. It's kind of like their bulldog, if you will. And there's some really interesting things going on there that I want to spend the first half of the video talking about. But we will then look at the Ethereum chart. I'm going to be telling you guys why I'm confident that an Ethereum ETF is coming, and I think that that is technically signal for us based on ETH BTC, which is setting up for a big move. So Ethereum going to gain a lot of ground against the likes of Bitcoin, and also ETH dominance, which is gearing up for a pretty spectacular move. And I think this is going to come, what's technically being signaled for us right now is going to come on the back end of fundamental news. We'll also be diving over to the Bitcoin chart. You know, I actually think Bitcoin's going to squeeze a little bit higher. It's setting up very similar structure to what led to the move that got us to new all-time highs. It's setting up again in a similar structure today. So that is hopefully going to drag the rest of the altcoin market with it. We are going to be releasing some of the coins that we have in our portfolio at this point. Typically my portfolio, I like to, and we talk about quite a few of the coins that are in my portfolio, but I like to keep the core of my portfolio, certainly some of the gems for the Patrons. We do have some coins that are 3, 4, some approaching 500% up, that I think we can release at this point and start talking about more publicly on the channel, because I still think they've got a long way to go, and we do want people to kind of share that journey. If you want to unlock my full portfolio, do consider becoming a patron. But as always, we have a lot to get into. Let's start things off with some of the regulatory headlines and where they've came from. We're going to be playing a clip of Beanham actually talking and addressing this in front of Congress in regards to if the SEC decide that they want to classify Ethereum as a security, it's going to cause all sorts of problems. And actually the system that's currently in place is working just fine. So they're kind of at loggerheads at the moment. But let's read this article very quickly. CFTC's Beanham says Promethium's ETH stance could create interagency conflict. Bitcoin and Ethereum are commodities, Beanham said, but if the SEC claim otherwise, things could get complicated. As Promethium, the first and only company to secure a special purpose broker-dealer license from the United States Security and Exchange Commission, gear up to launch trading operations, Commodity and Futures Trading Commission Chairman Rostin Beanham said rules across agencies could become conflicting. Bitcoin and Ethereum are commodities, Beanham told the House Committee on Agriculture during testimony Wednesday. He believes that any claim that Promethium may be making to the contrary is not reflective of the SEC stance. I'm going to say this, guys. I try not to be personal with this. I try and stay kind of apolitical on things. I have very strong political views. You know, you guys know I'm a libertarian at heart, and you can imagine what comes with that. I'm very anti an overreaching government and multiple other things. And I think the government is really the cause of a lot of problems. But I try and stay, you know, this is a channel I want to be for everybody, regardless of your political stances, and I'm glad people disagree with me on certain things. It's what makes the world such a beautiful place. If we were all the same, it'd be boring. But I am really not a fan of Promethium. Its CEO, the people on the board, I'm not a fan of this exchange at all. I think they are what's the right words? I don't really have them that I could probably say without getting in trouble. But I'm really not a fan of these guys at all. And the fact that they're kind of implying, and we'll look at why it looks like they're implying this. We're going to be diving over to a number of tweets talking about Promethium actually implying that Ethereum could be a security. And then we'll be looking at the actual clip of what the chairman of the CFTC actually said. But I'm not a fan of these guys. Just had to get it out there. So from my understanding, essentially reading the press and talking to my staff who have reached out to the SEC, this was an intentional decision made by Promethium to signal to the markets that it is their intent to custody Ethereum, said the chair of the CFTC when asked about the CFTC's views. So it is my understanding that this was not at all a decision by the SEC. This was an individual decision by the entity. Benham was referring to Promethium's recent announcement that it would launch its custody services with Ethereum as its first asset. The announcement raised eyebrows across the crypto industry as onlookers speculated whether the news might force the SEC to take more direct position on Ethereum's status as a security or a commodity. How this plays, obviously, is very critical. The issue is if we do have any action by the SEC essentially validating Promethium's decision constituting Ether as a security, it will then put our restraints or exchanges who list Ether as a future contract sort of in non-compliance of the SEC's rules as opposed to the CFTC's rules, he added. Benham's comments were in response to the questions from the Agricultural Committee Chair, Glenn Thompson, a known supporter of the crypto industry, he is indeed, about how Ethereum being classified as a security could impact the CFTC's jurisdiction. The CFTC allows registered commodity derivatives exchanges to list either derivative contracts. So that's meant to say Ether derivative contracts. So let's go down the rabbit hole here. So this is Promethium. So Promethium just came out of nowhere, and they've got this really sketchy background, by the way. And they're kind of like what the SEC has used to say and divert the exchange's claims that, you know, no one's compliant, you haven't given any regulatory compliant. The SEC has said, well, here you are, here's Promethium. You know, this kind of bulldog of ours that we have. And they are and have obtained a special security, a special broker-dealer license from the SEC that allows them to trade crypto asset securities. And the first asset that they're listing is Ethereum. They then published this, which was very interesting. Update: Promethium Incorporated has added a disclaimer to its website that says the SIPC will not cover digital asset securities trading on its platform that are not registered with the SEC. And of course, the first asset that they're looking to approve is Ethereum. This is really interesting because it's kind of implying that they think Ethereum is a security because they're a security digital asset securities platform, and the first one that they're listing is Ethereum. So they're kind of going against the grain. I want to play the clip of the CEO or the chairman of the CFTC, and then we're going to move on because this is really interesting. We're going to keep you up to date on this because this is going to have real broad implications for the entire cryptocurrency market. I don't think Ethereum is going to be classified as a security, just like Bitcoin isn't, and that's based on technically what we're looking at. So let's go ahead and play this clip.
If we do have any action by the SEC to essentially validate that decision, i.e., constituting Ether as a security, it would then put our registrants, our exchanges who list Ether as a futures contract, sort of in non-compliance of SEC rules as opposed to CFTC rules. So I am working with Chair Gensler, we're working with his office, we're working with the agency to ensure that whatever steps are taken are deliberate, that we're involved, and that they understand certainly what the consequences would be if there was a decision by the agency to determine that Ether was a security. As of now, we need to preserve the integrity of our markets and understand that this is a years-old decision where these markets are functioning well under the decision and the conclusion that Ether is a commodity.
Very interesting. So we want these cryptos as commodities. We don't want them as securities because of the ramifications that come with it. In fact, in some cases, it would make proof-of-stake systems very hard to do. And I do think, actually, we are going to see an Ethereum ETF, and I think that that's signaled largely in the charts. Let's start with the Ethereum chart. We'll talk about Bitcoin and our kind of overview on everything in just a second. But this is Ethereum. This is a beautiful stage 1 into stage 2. Since the uptrend we were looking at, we thought was in place, you can see where it's gone. I would have liked Ethereum to rest here and form some sort of a head and shoulders that we could predict 15K for. But I'm going to tell you why I think you're going to get an Ethereum ETF. And I think that what's technically signaled is always, and it always is, going to be accompanied by fundamental news. This is a pattern that has been setting up now for a long time, and this is likely to break to the upside, in my opinion. This has been setting up since 2017. And I think you are going to have, and this is perfect rounding structure, add a support, a real break of this, which means that Ethereum is going to be gaining ground over Bitcoin. Also to support this, we have Ethereum dominance. Which is in a head and shoulders-esque pattern that could see it run, currently at 18% of the overall cryptocurrency market in terms of market cap, to around about 36%. This is going to be accompanied with fundamental news of Ethereum having an ETF approved. In my opinion, that's what this is signaling, because, when we're looking at something technically, there's always a fundamental narrative that goes with it. And this ultimately is going to see Ethereum do very well. Not only from a price point of view does it look great, it looks good from a ETH BTC point of view. That's going to be a major break when it happens. And also from a ETH dominance point of view. They're all signaling that Ethereum's about to gain ground against the rest of the market and do well, basically. And I think that this is going to be on the news of the ETF. That's going to be the fundamental news that we're early on looking as technical traders. All markets are a vote and a representation of what people were doing with their money. So you are going to get an Ethereum ETF. It's interesting that all of this is coming up when we have an ETF. Kind of the decision is fast approaching. We've already got the filings from the likes of BlackRock and others. Let's talk about the general stance of the market. Of course, Bitcoin is following the plan that we set out for it damn beautifully. This is what we were looking at. We could probably move this a little bit. And essentially, you're just looking for small continuation instructions along the way here. There's never been a proper retest off this. I would have liked some reaction here, more than what we've got. But if you look at what happened when we took the prior high, it was a very short-lived pullback before you broke through. And that could be the same story today. I think it's naive to bet on downside in an uptrending market. And people get way too greedy. There's still plenty of time to get into the crypto market, I believe. I think if you were to look at how much of this bull market we've done, it's probably, we've got well over half of it to come. I think, remember, this is all happening pre-halvening. But don't be greedy. Don't look for downside. We are, like I say, going to be releasing some of the altcoins we had in our portfolio that have already done 400% for us. Still plenty of room for them to go. We still have higher targets. Again, you want to unlock my portfolio, do become a Patreon. But I think Bitcoin is going to be squeezing. So we looked at a squeezy pattern here. I think it's going to do a similar thing on the smaller time frames here and sort of break to the upside. And actually go on and put in a new high. This might be the only pullback you've got around all-time highs. This was significant. We're still seeing massive amounts of flows into Bitcoin. There's a fundamental supply and demand crunch going on for Bitcoin right now, in the sense that just one ETF alone is taking up something like 4, I think so, like 10x the new Bitcoin coming into existence. That's going to double once the halvening takes place. The demand's likely to increase with the market. The picture is a great one. Technically, we're bullish. Macro, we're bullish. We looked at the fact that we think the Fed's going to be stepping in, and that's what the bond market is signaling. It's really all I got for you guys. So very interesting to start the video off with all that Ethereum news. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'm really not a fan of Promethium. Really not. It's like the bad guy, I want to boo every time I hear their name, and they're kind of implying that they think Ethereum is a security. And of course they would be, because if you think about this, right, if they're the only ones with the license, they basically have the game. They have a monopoly over things. Not something that I want to see, not something that I'm hopeful for. And, I personally don't think Ethereum is a security. I think most of the cryptocurrencies aren't security. If we get that classification that Ethereum is a non-security, and like we kind of already have, because it's under the CFTC jurisdiction, then that's going to have broader implications for the altcoin market. It's going to be an exciting year, guys. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you. If you've enjoyed the content, like, appreciate it as a comment, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching. See you in the next.